The soft revolution, feminine soft power economy. She sat at her kitchen table, laptop open, kids finally asleep. The house was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator and that persistent thought she couldn't silence anymore. Not louder, not aggressive, just persistently there, like a seed pushing through concrete. What if strength didn't have to look like what she'd been taught? The world had been telling her for years that power meant being louder, sharper, more like them. But something was shifting. She could feel it in the conversations happening in living rooms, in group chats, in the quiet determination of women building empires from kitchen counters and spare bedrooms. This wasn't about rejecting ambition, it was about redefining it entirely. She thought back to last Tuesday. Her friend had mentioned making more in a month from her online community than she used to make in 6 months at her corporate job. No venture capital, no office politics. Just clarity, consistency, and something the business books rarely mentioned: emotional intelligence as currency. The numbers were starting to tell a story that traditional economics had missed. Women-led businesses were outpacing the market, not by mimicking masculine strategies, but by doing something radically different. They were building through connection instead of competition, through collaboration instead of conquest. But it hadn't always felt possible. 6 months earlier, she had scrolled through endless success stories, feeling that familiar weight in her chest. The kind that whispers you're already too late, too tired, too ordinary. Every highlight reel seemed to feature someone who had it all figured out by 25, who never doubted, who never had to choose between a business call and a sick child. Part of her still felt guilty for wanting more, as if ambition had to disappear when motherhood began, as if dreaming beyond the daily routine was somehow selfish. What would you have done in her place? The breakthrough didn't come from a motivational speech. It came from a realization so simple it almost felt obvious once she saw it. The skills she'd been using every day, the ones she thought didn't count, were exactly what the new economy needed: empathy, patience, the ability to hold multiple perspectives simultaneously. The talent for creating spaces where people felt safe to be themselves. These weren't soft skills. They were survival skills, and they were becoming the most valuable currency in a digitally connected, emotionally starved world. She discovered that the feminine soft power economy wasn't about excluding anyone. It was about including the qualities that had been systematically devalued. Intuition alongside analysis, nurturing alongside strategy, building slowly and sustainably instead of burning out in pursuit of artificial deadlines. The coffee grew cold as she read deeper. Studies were emerging that challenged everything she'd been taught about success. Research showed that businesses prioritizing emotional connection and community building had customer retention rates 40 to 60% higher than traditional models. The lifetime value wasn't just in the transaction, it was in the relationship. Companies led by women were also showing remarkable resilience during economic uncertainty. Not because women were inherently better at business, but because many were building differently from the start. Less debt, more collaboration, sustainable growth over explosive expansion that often imploded. Then came the doubt, the kind that whispers louder than failure. Maybe this was just another trend. Maybe she was romanticizing struggle. Maybe success just wasn't meant for someone like her, someone who needed flexibility, who couldn't network at evening events because bedtime routines weren't negotiable, who measured her day in increments of stolen focus between responsibilities. But something made her keep digging. She found a concept that changed her perspective entirely: the care economy. For decades, it had been invisible in GDP calculations, dismissed as non-productive, yet it was the foundation everything else was built on. And now, as remote work normalized and digital communities flourished, that invisible labor was finally being recognized, valued, and monetized on women's own terms. Coaches weren't just teaching skills, they were holding space for transformation. Content creators weren't just entertaining, they were building communities where people felt less alone. Course creators weren't just sharing information, they were facilitating genuine growth and connection. The products and services emerging from this economy looked different. They acknowledged complexity. They embraced vulnerability. They didn't promise overnight success, but rather sustainable transformation. And people were willing to invest in that authenticity. She smiled, not because it was easy, but because it was finally making sense. The soft power economy operated on different metrics. Success wasn't just revenue, though that mattered. It was impact. It was the message from someone whose life shifted because of your work. It was building something that could flex around your life instead of demanding you sacrifice everything for it. She learned that platforms like Substack, Patreon, and Kajabi were enabling creators to build direct relationships with their audiences, cutting out intermediaries who had traditionally controlled access and profit. Women were building 6- and 7-figure businesses with email lists smaller than what conventional wisdom said was necessary, because depth of connection mattered more than breadth of reach. The traditional funnel was being replaced by something more organic: community. Instead of capturing leads and nurturing them through automated sequences designed to trigger purchases, these businesses were creating spaces where people genuinely wanted to be. where membership felt like belonging, not a transaction. Sometimes growth doesn't look like progress. It looks like staying, like choosing to build slowly when everyone around you is racing, like protecting your energy when hustle culture demands you give everything. She discovered case studies that validated what her intuition had been telling her. A mom in Portland had built a 7-figure business teaching other women to trust their creative instincts. A former teacher in Austin had created an online learning community that generated passive income while she homeschooled her children. A woman in her 50s had launched a consulting practice that honored her decades of experience instead of making her feel obsolete. These weren't unicorns. They were becoming the norm in certain corners of the economy. The invisible revolution was well underway, but it required unlearning, letting go of the belief that visible struggle equaled worthiness, releasing the need to prove yourself through exhaustion, understanding that boundaries weren't limitations, they were the framework that made sustainable success possible. The feminine soft power economy embraced what traditional business often rejected: cyclical energy instead of constant output, rest as strategy, not weakness, collaboration as competitive advantage, authenticity as brand differentiation. She learned about the concept of energetic alignment, building a business that matched your natural rhythms instead of forcing yourself into someone else's system. It sounded abstract until she realized she'd been fighting her own design for years, wondering why she kept burning out while others seemed to thrive. What if she stopped trying to fix herself and started building around who she actually was? The research supported it. According to recent studies, small home-based businesses led by women are growing 40% faster than other segments. Proof that clarity often beats capital. That starting small and sustainable often outlasts starting big and fragile. The barriers to entry had never been lower. A laptop, internet connection, a skill or knowledge that could help someone else. The infrastructure existed: payment processors, course platforms, design tools accessible to non-designers. What had once required venture funding could now be bootstrapped from a kitchen table. But the real shift was psychological. She realized that the soft power economy asked a different question. Not how do I compete, but how do I contribute? Not how do I dominate my market, but how do I serve my people so well that competition becomes irrelevant? It was business as service, as legacy, as the slow, steady work of building something that reflected your values and created space for others to do the same. She discovered the concept of the stakeholder economy, where customers became community members, where success was measured not just in profit but in collective well-being. These businesses didn't extract value. They generated it in ways that lifted everyone involved. There were challenges, of course. The algorithm didn't always favor depth over virality. The market still often rewarded speed over substance. Investors didn't always understand businesses built on intangible, but invaluable qualities like trust and transformation. Then came the moment everything clicked. She was on a video call with a potential client, feeling that familiar imposter syndrome creeping in, when the woman on the screen said something that landed like permission. "I don't want someone who has it all figured out. I want someone who remembers what it's like to figure it out, who can hold space for the messy middle, not just celebrate the highlight reel." That's when she understood. Her uncertainty wasn't disqualification. It was her credential. Her journey wasn't a liability. It was her message. The soft power economy valued lived experience. It recognized that the most powerful teaching often came not from those at the peak, but from those still climbing, who could remember exactly where the handholds were. She started showing up differently after that. Not performing confidence she didn't feel, but sharing honest reflections about the process. Not claiming expertise in everything, but owning her specific zone of genius while referring people to others for what she didn't know. The response surprised her. Her engagement increased, her community deepened, her revenue grew, not because she was selling harder, but because she was connecting more authentically. What helped her most wasn't just discovering the right tools, though Canva Pro did make creating content infinitely easier, and that online business course gave her frameworks she'd been fumbling toward alone. What changed everything was realizing she didn't need permission to start small. She didn't need to have it all figured out before she began. She tested different approaches before finding what truly worked for her. Some methods felt forced, misaligned with who she was. Others clicked immediately, felt like coming home to herself. This isn't a promotion, just something that made her path a little lighter. Resources exist now that didn't a few years ago, and honestly, they changed how quickly she could move from idea to implementation. She'd leave links below for anyone curious to explore, but the tools were never the point. The mindset shift was everything. She learned to reframe rejection. A no wasn't personal failure. It was misalignment. It meant she was getting clearer on who she was actually meant to serve. She learned that her niche wasn't a demographic, but a psychographic: people who shared certain values and were ready for specific transformations. She discovered that pricing wasn't about what the market would bear, but about the value of the transformation she facilitated. That undercharging didn't serve anyone. It just ensured she'd burn out before she could help the people she was meant to reach. The soft power economy had different rules around money too. It acknowledged that wealth creation and wealth hoarding were completely different things, that you could pursue financial abundance while also committing to generosity, to paying it forward, to creating opportunities for others coming up behind you. She saw women building businesses that donated percentages of profit, that prioritized paying collaborators well, that invested in their communities beyond transactions. This wasn't charity, it was a recognition that sustainable success was collective, not individual. Months passed. The business grew, but not in the explosive way the success stories always described. It grew like a garden, some seasons more abundant than others, requiring different kinds of attention at different times, asking her to trust processes she couldn't always see. Her workspace was still her kitchen counter, but it no longer felt like chaos. It felt like possibility. She'd learned to work in focused sprints between the rhythm of her household, to honor her energy instead of fighting it, to build a business that expanded and contracted with her life instead of demanding her life contract around it. The metrics looked different too. She tracked revenue, yes, but also testimonials, also her own energy levels, also whether she felt proud of what she'd created at the end of each week. Success became multidimensional, impossible to reduce to a single number. She joined communities of other women building similarly, and the collective wisdom was staggering. Someone always had experience with the challenge you were facing. Someone always had a resource recommendation. Someone always had encouraging words for when the doubt crept back in. This was the soft power economy in action. Collaboration as the rising tide. Information sharing as abundance thinking. Your success doesn't diminish mine because we're not fighting over scraps, we're expanding what's possible for everyone. She learned about the concept of energetic entrepreneurship, making business decisions not just based on projected ROI, but on how opportunities felt, whether they aligned with her vision, whether saying yes would energize or deplete her, whether the partnership resonated at an intuitive level. Traditional business might call this unprofessional, but she'd seen too many professional decisions lead to burnout, resentment, and businesses that succeeded financially while failing the humans running them. Disclaimer: this content is for educational purposes only and does not replace consultation or assistance from a professional. Always consult a qualified professional for any questions related to finance, business, or investments. The revolution she'd stumbled into wasn't about destroying the old systems, though some needed to crumble. It was about building new ones alongside them, creating alternatives for people who'd never felt at home in corporate hierarchies, in aggressive competition, in the hustle until you break mentality. It was about proving that there were multiple valid paths to success, that you could build wealth without sacrificing well-being, that you could create impact without burning out, that feminine qualities weren't weaknesses to overcome, but strengths to leverage. She thought about her daughter, watching her work these days, not watching her leave for an office and return exhausted, but watching her create, connect, solve problems, build something meaningful from their home, learning that work could be integrated into life, not constantly at odds with it. This was generational. The soft power economy wasn't just changing how business happened now, it was reshaping what the next generation would consider possible. One message particularly stayed with her. A woman had written, "I didn't know I was allowed to want this, to want financial independence and time with my kids, to want to build something significant and still be present for the small moments. Your work gave me permission to try." She read it 3 times, tears surprising her, because that's what the soft power economy really was. Permission to redefine success on your terms. Permission to build differently. Permission to trust that what made you different could be exactly what made you valuable. When she poured her coffee the next morning, it was still hot, because this time she wasn't rushing, she was building. Slowly, sustainably, in alignment with who she actually was, instead of who she'd been told she should be. The soft revolution wasn't loud, it wasn't aggressive, it wasn't trying to compete with traditional power structures on their terms. It was quietly creating alternatives so compelling that more people every day were choosing them. It was women building million-dollar businesses while homeschooling, creating 6-figure incomes from newsletter platforms, launching consulting practices that honored their expertise without demanding they work themselves to exhaustion, monetizing care, creativity, connection, and community, the things that had always mattered but were finally being valued. The economy was changing because the people participating in it were demanding something different, not just profit, but purpose, not just transactions, but transformation, not just success, but significance. And she was part of it now, not as a guru or expert claiming to have all the answers, but as someone in the process, building imperfectly, learning continuously, sharing what she discovered along the way. The revolution starting with feminine soft power wasn't coming, it was already here, quiet but undeniable, growing in living rooms and home offices, spreading through authentic connections and word of mouth, building the infrastructure for a different kind of economy, one relationship at a time. She closed her laptop, the soft glow fading as evening settled in. Tomorrow she'd work again, building her piece of this quiet revolution. But tonight, she'd be present, because that was the whole point, wasn't it? Creating a life where work and life weren't at war but in conversation. Where ambition and presence could coexist. Where success could be redefined entirely. Tell us what part of this story resonated with you most, and where you're watching from. Your journey might just inspire the next one. Tell us which country or city you're watching from. See you in the next video. Bye.